Jano to Kaba Concrete Road and the Itakpe to Warri Railway service, among others. Buhari said his administration is working to reposition Kogi as an investment hub through the activation of solid minerals in the state, particularly the iron and steel sector. According to him, the federal government is in talks with the reputable United States-based company, which he hopes will materialize and the company will come back to the stream. The House of Representatives says it plans to partner with stakeholders to investigate the alleged loss of over $2.4 billion revenue due to illegal sales of crude oil. The chairman of the House ad hoc committee investigating the matter, Representative Mark Bihala, said this is at the National Assembly Complex, Abuja, during the inaugural meeting of the committee. The lawmaker, who assured whistleblowers of almost confidentiality, said the investigation was in line with President Muhammadu Buhari's anti-corruption drive. According to him, the committee had to be set up now, 7 years after the incidents, because it was brought to the fore in 2020 and the House needed background information for a thorough investigation and outcome. Bihela solicited the support of individuals and corporate organizations to enable the committee achieve its mandate. The committee also gave assurance that Port Harcourt and Warri refineries would start full operation by first quarter of next year. A High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Abuja, has restrained Economic and Financial Crime Commission, Inspector General of Police, IGP, and Department of State Service, DSS, from inviting, arresting, or detaining the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele. The trial judge, Azan, gave the order following an ex parte motion filed by the incorporated trustee of the Forum for Accountability and Good Leadership against 5 defendants. Beside the already named defendants, the other 2 are the Attorney General of the Federation first defendant and the CBN fifth defendant. Justice Azan, upon hearing Emeka Ozuane's SAN counsel for the applicants, barred the second and third and fourth defendant, whether by themselves, their officers, agents, service, private, or through anybody whatsoever, from arresting or detaining the Apex Bank boss. The court ordered accelerated hearing and abridged the time within which the defendants are to file counter affidavits to the motion on notice and the originating summon. The court held the continuous harassment of Emefiele over trumped up allegations of terrorism and sundry offenses is illegal and constitutes a breach of his fundamental rights as contained in the African Charter and in the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has assured Nigerians that justice will be served and transparency in the investigation into the killing of a lawyer, Mrs. Bolanle Rahim, on Christmas Day in Lagos. The police boss gave the assurance while receiving the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, at the force headquarters in Abuja over the case and another extrajudicial killing by police operatives in the state. The IGP said there would be no cover-ups in handling the case of the deceased lawyer, while revealing that Governor Sanwo-Olu was in his office to find out about development in the investigation of the incident that happened in Lagos on the Christmas Day. The police boss, who expressed his condolence to the family of the late Bolanle Rahim and Nigeria at large, promised that the police will continue to improve on our officers engaged in the use of firearms. He appealed to Nigerians to be more responsible by helping police to live up to expectations in their official duties, while assuring members of the public that the murder case will be dealt with. Meanwhile, the Lagos State Attorney General Moyosore Onigbanjo's SAN has filed a one-count charge against ASB Drambe Vandi over the murder of Mrs. Bolanle Rahim. Vandi appeared before the Chief Magistrate Court, Yaba, a day after the Police Service Commission approved his suspension over the killing of Mrs. Rahim. The charge read that the police officer on the 25th day of December 2022 at Ajah Road along the Lekki Expressway, Lagos, unlawfully killed one Omobolanle Rahim by shooting the deceased in the chest, contrary to Section 223 of the Criminal Law of the state. The Attorney General, who appeared before the Chief Magistrate Court, Yaba, applied for the remand of the defendant, saying the basis for the request is to allow the police conclude its investigation into the matter. The magistrate, Mrs. Adeola Olatunbosun, granted the request to remand the defendant at the Ikoyi Correctional Center and ordered that the case file be duplicated and sent to the Director of Public Prosecution, Dr. Jide Martins, for legal advice. She then adjourned to January 30, 2023 to await legal advice. The Secretary to the State Government, Honorable Teslim Igbalaye, has called on indigenes of Osun State who are interested in joining the Nigeria Air Force through its Direct Short Service Commission, DSSC, to apply now that online application portal is open. Honorable Igbalaye made the call through the press statement made available to newsmen in Osogbo. He urged all interested Osun indigenes to obtain their forms free of charge online, and other eligible details would be enlisted about the enlistment on exercise on the www.nafrecruitmentairforce.mil.ng. The subscribe to the state government equally implored all interested applicants to be proactive and be steadfast about the registration, noting that the portal will be closed on the 30th of January next year. It was the celebration of life as families, friends, and well-wishers converged on the Seventh-day Adventist Church Oke-Ilorin are going to pay their last respect for their father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, Pa Joseph Afolayan Popola, who joined his descent triumphant at the age of 97. In a sermon at the service, retired president for the Northwestern Nigerian Union Mission of the Church, Pastor Joseph Ola, described the deceased as a true Christian who served God and humanity wholeheartedly, adding that he noted that anyone who dies in Christ does not die in vain, since Christ has conquered death. Some of the children of the deceased, including Mr. Tunde Popola and Mr. Banjo Popola, described their late father as a lover of God and disciplinarian who taught them life-changing values they equally bequeathed on their children. They maintained that he will be greatly missed, as the vacuum created by his death will be difficult to fill, just as they appreciated God that his life was well spent on earth. The remains of Pa Joseph Afolayan Popola were later laid to rest at his residence in Oke-Ilorin, while families, friends, and well-wishers were thereafter treated at the reception. President Muhammadu Buhari has stated that the world would not forget the legacy and contribution of the departed Brazilian soccer legend Edson Arantes do Nascimento, known as Pelé, who died at the age of 82. A statement signed by the president spokesman Garba Shehu, titled "President Buhari mourns soccer legend Pelé," indicated that he lived a good life and made a huge contribution to the development of global football, in particular world soccer. According to him, he had an enormous generosity of spirit and humility despite his greatness as a footballer and as a sportsman. He stated further that Pelé also built bridges across nations, races, and even religions, and he was a UN ambassador of goodwill. And on the foreign scene, the Special Criminal Case Court set up by Judge War Crimes Against Humanity in Central African Republic had its mandate extended for a further 5 years under a law the tribunal set up in 2015 with UN backing issued its first verdict this year after a long struggle in the face of financial and logical hurdle and local hostility. On October 31st, it issued a life sentence to 2 20-year terms against 3 members of the so-called 3R group accused of taking part in a massacre in May 2019 in which 46 villagers died. A draft bill put forward by Justice Minister Arnold Dubaye Abanzene to extend the court mandate by another 5 years was approved in a voice vote at the National Assembly. And that ends the evening news on Osbc TV. Join us at 7 for the major reports. Good evening.